Alvin Kamara isn't carrying the football, he's carrying the team. We've got AK at Saints camp. As for Baker Mayfield, we'll tell you why he better not even try to carry his team. We've got Bake 2 at Browns camp. But first, when the silence was broken, did the weight get lifted? Why this year's version of Aaron Rodgers may be even more dangerous than last year's. This is the eve of NFL football. Come on, this should be a national holiday. This is NFL Total Access. NFL Total Access. My name is MJ Acosta-Ruiz, and it has been 178 games since the last NFL game. I mean, I think we can all agree that is way too long. So let's get back out there. Steelers and Cowboys Hall of Fame game. That's tomorrow. We'll get you ready today. But first, at Giants camp, we saw how quickly things can flare up. But at Packers camp, we're seeing how quickly things can chill out. Just like nothing ever happened. Aaron Rodgers on the field, the smooth release on display, that easy smile on his face, and a reminder of the good old days. Packers tweeting out this picture of Rodgers with Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb, and our very own James Jones, whose interview with number 12 had us wondering if all this offseason drama really happened.
How good is it to walk back on this field and just be back out here with your brothers?
I mean, it's the best feeling. It was a little strange, I think, day one, just because I was gone for the entire offseason and contemplated my own future and the possibility of playing somewhere else as well. But when I'm back here, I'm 100% all in, you know. And you know me, you know what I'm all about. I love my teammates. I love competing. I do love practice. You know, I love to go out and give it to the young corner when I can and get after these guys, talk a little smack, especially with a new D coordinator in here. We got to let them know how it goes around here. But, you know, it's good to be back, man.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers, unbothered as we welcome in James Jones and Mike Robb. Guys, I mean, the Rodgers saga, it seems to be under control. I mean, he was behind the lens yesterday taking pictures at practice. Seems like he's in good spirits. So why don't we focus on this Packers team? I mean, what do we need to see for them to make it past this NFC Championship game and get back to another Super Bowl, James Jones?
You know, it's crazy because I actually had that conversation with him off camera. And we all know, Mike Robb knows, you have to play your best football in the playoffs. The Packers were lights out all season long, and then you get to the playoffs against the Buccaneers, and you're making little mistakes. You're giving up touchdowns before the half. You're fumbling the ball. You're turning the football over.
Scramble.
So he just said, we got to take advantage of the moment. This is a very good football team that they have there in Green Bay, and they got to take advantage of the moment. You have to be playing your best football when you're going into the playoffs, especially when you're talking about the NFC Championship and getting to the Super Bowl. And they weren't at their best. They haven't been at their best the last 2 years, and hopefully that changes this year. But they have to play their best football when it matters most, and that's not in the regular season. That's when you get in the postseason.
JJ, man, I agree with everything you said, man. I mean, I really do. You got to play your best football in January and February. And on third down, when you got that third down scramble with that lane wide open, Aaron Rodgers, you could have won the NFC Championship with just a scramble. And you would have took the decision out of the coach's hands for kicking a field goal. But you know what, JJ? That's a whole nother conversation, man. We ain't here talking about that. That was last year. We talk about this year. And for what I'm seeing from Aaron Rodgers is, especially since he came back, and this is something that I learned from Beast Mode, one of my best friends in the whole world. I used to always ask Beast Mode, dude, how come you don't ever come to OTAs, man? Like, how come, like, why don't you ever come to the off-season program? And this whole thing was, I want to have that love for football season when it's football season. And I think what you're seeing from Aaron Rodgers, when he took some time for himself, he talked about getting his mental health straight, you know, enjoying life again, taking as many trips as the COVID environment would allow him to take. I think I'm seeing a little bit more of a looser Aaron Rodgers. And JJ, you know him better than I do. I've never seen him, you know, taking cameras from the photographer and playing as much as we're seeing him play. When you did that interview, man, that big smile that he had, and it just seemed like he was just happy to be back. And I think sometimes we get enamored in our sport and saying that we just got to be around it all the time, all the time, all the time. And yeah, for a guy like me, a role player who was always, on the roster from 40 to 45 or something like that, I had to be there for the offseason, right? I was a special teamer. But guys like Aaron Rodgers, man, I think just having some time away from the game renewed his love for the game. And obviously, I want to say before I let you go, JJ, I love that press conference he had, man. I think every NFL player should look at that press conference that Aaron Rodgers did when he came back, man. He was clear. His message was clear. He knew exactly what he was saying, and he got his point across. So, yeah, I expect the Green Bay Packers to be better this year.
You know what, Mike Rob? First off, when I interview people, I make everybody smile, man. I make everybody happy, man. So you can be having a bad day, I'm going to make you smile. But no, he is in a good spot, man. He's happy. He's ready to go. He's ready to play some football. He's in a very good spot in his life. And I told y'all on this TV that Aaron Rodgers will be at Packers camp just because of how much he loves his teammates. This dude has never missed the offseason. He's always been there. Like you said, this is the best player in the world.
For that check, too.
You know what I mean? So he don't got to be at the offseason programs. He never missed. The reason why he's there is because he loves his teammates. And I think now that he has all this behind him and he could just go out here and play ball and spin it, not worry about none of that, and be out there with his brothers having fun, that's why you see the big smile on his face, man. And he's ready to go. I mean, they truly believe that this is their year to go win this whole thing, man.
Yeah, I mean, a whole summer off will do that to you. But to your point, he has something to prove. He won the MVP last season. He knows what he brings. It's time to go now. I like this new laissez-faire Aaron Rodgers coming through with the man, but I think this lends itself to potentially very good Packers season. All right, y'all, thanks. Meantime, across the NFC, Giants wide receiver Kenny Golladay left yesterday's practice early, holding the back of his left leg. So today, head coach Joe Judge said Golladay has been evaluated. But here's Coach with more on how his receiver is progressing.
In terms of Kenny, he's actually seeing a doctor this morning. We just broke meetings a second ago. I'll find out a little bit more about it. I would say in terms of a worst case scenario, I think we've kind of avoided that in terms of dealing with it. But we'll see what the timetable looks like. And again, injuries are different for every player based on what they are. So we'll have to see how his body responds and make sure we do right by him.
Carson Wentz's foot surgery was classified as a success, but now the recovery starts, and that could take 5 to 12 weeks. So we head to Westville, Indiana, where Tom Pelissero spoke with head coach Frank Reich.
Frank, a lot to talk about with the healthier football team. But let's start with your health. How are you feeling after missing the start of camp with COVID-19?
Well, thanks for asking, Tom. I feel great. Fortunately, I was one of the ones who was asymptomatic, so I felt good during it, but glad to be back here, feeling good.
So you come back, and your quarterback is gone. You said yesterday the surgical outcome for Carson Wentz was the best-case scenario.
That's right.
What is your level of optimism, if any, that he could be back closer to 5 weeks around week 1 than the 12-week part of that timetable?
Well, that's what I'm hoping, but you can't rush it, but I think it'll declare itself. And one thing that we heard from the doctors that was very, very clear is the first 2 weeks are virtually do nothing, just let everything heal. And then once you start getting into that first week or two, you're going to get a pretty early indication whether you're at the front end of that spectrum or more towards the middle. Hopefully you're never at the end of it, right? But secondly, I just know Carson's mentality, right? I mean, he don't want to miss, but he'll do what's best for himself. He'll do what's best for the team. And so we got to be smart about it, but we got to be aggressive about trying to get him back as soon as we can.
There is and will be a lot of speculation about you potentially trading for a veteran quarterback. How realistic, if at all, is that scenario in your mind? And how's young Jacob Eason done with his opportunity?
Jacob's done well. He had a particularly good day today. That's really all we're focused on. Chris and I really haven't been talking about trades or anything like that. We're focused on the guys we got. We're happy with our quarterback room. We're going to continue to push those guys to get them better and think we have a good supporting cast and can play winning football with the roster we have.
Your all-pro guard, Quentin Nelson, suffers a similar freak type of foot injury right after Carson. Every year I feel like I talk to you at camp and there's something going on. Do you ever start to feel like you're just a little bit cursed from an injury perspective?
No, I really don't. I feel like, man, I'm so... well, first of all, let me just, the freak nature of back-to-back Carson and Quentin. You think, what's crazy? But my conversation with both Carson and Quentin is, you know what, guys, who knows why crazy stuff like this happens, but, you know, the way we think around here is, hey, maybe this little setback now is protecting us from a bigger setback that might have happened. You know what I mean? Why not be optimistic? Why not think about it that way? I've experienced things that I think happen like that, so I'm looking at it like, hey, if at some point both of these guys had